Hey guys, welcome back to the Detour. Did you miss us? Probably not, but we're back anyway. It's been obviously a pretty big week since we spoke to you last. We've had obviously the Critérium du Dauphiné. We've got Tour of Suisse about to get underway. We've got Tour of Slovenia. There's a lot going on and there's a lot to unpack. So we've got a big show. We've got Aussie Luke Roberts, who's the sports director for Team DSM. He's going to be joining the show. We'll talk about his career, talk about the build up to the tour, and obviously Matt White, our regular contributor. He did an interview with my man Johnny Trevorrow a little bit earlier, 4-time national road champ. And it's been a good week of racing with the Dauphiné at the moment, with obviously the Aussie connection, Richie Porte in yellow.
Well, I've missed the podcast, but I've missed you too, Dan, because
turn it up.
You're in Melbourne in lockdown. I'm in Geelong. I can get out and about, so I can't even say hi. But anyway, it's all good. I'm excited. I'm excited tonight. Here we are. We've got Richie Porte in the yellow jersey on the Dauphiné. And the Dauphiné, huge event. The number one lead-up event for the Tour de France, and he is firing. And not only him, 4 Aussies in the top 20. So I've got 3 in the top 10 and Howson, I think, 17th. So Jack Haig, who's looking very good. He's in 5th. And very impressive Ben O'Connor. I'm excited to get into all of that. But I think we should bring in our very most regular or irregular guest. I'd say most regular guest, Olympic gold medalist Scott McGrory. I know he's hiding in there somewhere.
Well, most may say irregular. I'm happy that you say regular, though, John. Thank you.
Well, we just wanted to beef it up. Obviously, the Olympic gold medal adds a bit of clout. Now, if you won a bronze, didn't you, at Commonwealth Games?
Yeah.
Where is it?
I think it's somewhere in the foundations of a apartment block in St Kilda Elwood.
Oh, no. We've
just
had a
story there.
Guys, iffy story.
Guys, I've got a bad news. Someone's just commented. She said, bad timing, guys. It's from Cheryl. We're on an African safari with Phil.
Oh, we were supposed to go, but I got my broken rib, so I couldn't do it. We were supposed to lock into that.
Oh, that's bad.
But we are promoting it. That is terrible timing.
By not being on it.
Well, I had to break my rib.
Website.
Yeah.
KARIEG.co.za/Peloton. And John, you were organising it. I was just following your lead. I've had a full gas weekend.
Full gas come back to me and with some information, but with my broken rib, I couldn't ride. And then
we could have watched it.
I know. I feel very embarrassed.
Okay, well, this is a great start to the show. Welcome back, folks. The Detour.
Sorry, Phil.
Well, I think we should just try and bring the mood up and bring on our first guest. Let's just shift the focus. That's always the best thing to do when you're under the pump. And if you're big on intros, you're going to have to redeem yourself because you've screwed up the Phil Liggett ride. What can you say about our next guest?
Well, our next guest has been living in Europe for a long, long time, maybe longer, and got a German family now. Luke Roberts, Olympic gold medalist. I raced with his dad. I remember his dad and I had a great duel in a tour of Tasmania, and his dad also ran second in a Sun Tour to Peter Bosanko. But Luke Roberts, one of our great stars, as Olympic gold medalist on the track, but also a seriously good road rider. And I remember one Tour de France that he rode where where his team had the yellow jersey for quite a while, and he was very instrumental in keeping that with the squad. So without further ado, let's bring him on.
Luke, can you hear us? How are you, mate?
I'm all good, thanks.
Thanks for joining the Detour. It's obviously been a pretty big month. Obviously, we've just finished the Giro. You must have been pretty happy with the performance of your team, particularly the Aussies. In particular, Michael Storer, Chris Hamilton. It was a really good showing from the guys.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, a little bit unfortunate with Jai. Things didn't really go his way during the Giro, having to abandon. But Chris has done another great Giro. Was really good also to see Michael Storer step up. Struggled a little bit early on in the race, and then when it come crunch time, when he was needed there to help Romain Bardet, he was there, and also really strong in that last week. So great to see from Michael. Another great thing was with Chris's second place in the stage, that he's had an opportunity to go up there fighting for a stage win and almost pulled it off. So also that was great to see.
Now, as you said, really unfortunate for Jai. Second in the Giro the year before, and hoping to work on that. But the old saddle sore, you say it like it's nothing with saddle sore, but nothing worse than trying to run a Grand Tour with a saddle sore. How is he now?
Yeah, on the road to recovery. I think he's he'll be back. I mean, his whole early season was set back with a bit of illness. A rebound from that, and then during the Giro, that saddle sore. So it hasn't been an ideal season so far, but he will also have some bigger goals as the season continues. So he'll focus on those.
Johnny, you said there's nothing worse than trying to ride a Grand Tour with a saddle sore. What about trying to ride six days with a saddle sore? Remember the story I gave you a couple of weeks back from had an abscess and trying to sit on the seat in the velodrome? It wasn't fun at all, mate. Had to cut a hole in the saddle.
Yeah.
The 6 days, though, 6 day riders used to get the saddle sores used to affect them more than road riders, because you'll get that extra centrifugal force of riding on the small tracks. So obviously it was a bigger issue for 6 day riders than the road riders.
Oh, look, it was. And look, Luke knows about it too. Like, Luke was doing a bunch of 6 days as well. So we sort of crossed over in the time. Like, Luke came into the sixes just in the last couple of seasons as I was moving out. But yeah, that was always one of the problems, wasn't it, Luke? And trying to balance the road and the track, which, you as an Olympic track champion and a successful road rider, that's pretty tough, isn't it, to try and get the balance right. And you're getting paid to do the 6 days in the winter, which is your own money, but you got a road team that doesn't want you to do the 6 days so you can freshen up for the road.
Yeah, sometimes a little bit tricky to manage. There was some actually fitted quite well to add one in the end of the season or one in the beginning to get that extra bit of intensity was quite okay. But to ride a full season of 6 days over the winter, then obviously that's going to affect your summer road season. So you had to pick and choose which ones would fit. And there were some seasons I actually did the full winter when I wasn't riding with a World Tour team or over the summer, and quite enjoyed it as well. So
I don't want to turn the show into Dr. Oz, but how do you manage like a problem with a saddle sore? Because can't it create like boils or like growth areas where they just keep coming back? I mean, how do you manage this moving forward for Jai without having to go into too much detail because we're smack on dinner time?
I'm not a doctor either, so I'll leave that business up to them. But rest, recover. I don't know if any sort of operation is needed, but have heard of it happen in the past. But yeah, it's
that's what you had to do, didn't you, Scooter?
Mine was it started as a saddle sore in the Herald Sun Tour. And then I went straight back to Europe and then went to a small track, 166-metre track in Denmark. And on the first night, that little saddle sore just went bang and went up. It was like the size of half a golf ball. And then that had to get cut open to be drained. But then you've got the challenge of whether you stitch it or not. And the instructions were don't have it cut too much that it requires a stitch. Because if you have to have a stitch in it, then you just won't be able to sit on the seat and ride. So I had basically an open wound until it actually healed up and had to keep that as clean as possible. Once it did heal, I always started every 6 day event with a new pair of shorts. And the track shorts that we used to ride, Luke and I and the 6 day guys, were very different to the road shorts, much more padding in them, much more comfortable actually than the road shorts. And I'd have a new pair of those for every 6 day.
I was smirking because I can remember one of the sixes that I was riding, I can't remember now, who had the big saddle tour, and he cut a big hole in his seat as well. And you see, when he'd be attacking off the seat, you have to see very gingerly when he sat back down on the seat.
Well, we've got Gary Tilley says Graham Dawes from Wang many years ago said you need to pot metho on your backside every day to toughen it up. Ooh, I don't know about that.
Ouch. Yeah. No, hey, well, so my partner Sandy, she did ballet up until she was 15. She was only talking about the other day. They used to soak their feet, their toes, in metho to toughen them up so they could get on the points. And they had to do, everyone do know what that is when they get on the tip of their toes. Metho was the thing that used to toughen it up.
I like how Luke's come on the show in the first 5 minutes. We talked about saddle sores. You'd be thinking, shit, what's the next 25 going to be like?
And ballet.
This is a bit like your other podcast, with
Social Distance.
Kiwi, Social Distance, which you got to watch the last episode. It was the funniest episode. I loved it.
Yeah. Well, we've got a snippet later on.
Let's bring it back. Luke, what's the process now? You're only a few weeks out. You're not at the Dauphiné, but you are a DS or a team manager at the Tour de France. What's the process now that you're going through for these next few weeks?
Myself, I'm working pretty closely with our sprint group. So we're going, preparing those guys towards the Tour de France. My next race will be the Belgian Tour, starting on Wednesday, where we go there with predominantly sprint group lead-out riders. There's a final preparation there. We have a group, some riders in the tour selection, preparing over Tour de Suisse. Of course, some riders with the opportunity to be in the selection from the Dauphiné as well. So, but the sprint group will go over the Belgian Tour, and from that choose our selection for the tour.
Hey, Luke, one story that you told when we had you on last that I really loved, and I've rehashed it many times afterwards, was when you told Jai at the Giro, you got one job tomorrow, and that's to go to breakfast and give the other boys shit or whatever, just to take the edge off. And we had Neil Stevens on Monday, and it was all about the evolution of the sports director, and you're really a manager of people. How important is that for you, stuff that you're not going to read in a textbook about how to do the job, at managing these guys, particularly at a race like the Tour de France, which can be stressful if you really buy into the bubble?
Yeah, I mean, firstly, you got to get to know the people, get to know the guys and what they're like naturally, and then you see if they're acting different at a race or not, and how they react under pressure, and try to use ways to bring that pressure off them. Spending time with the guys at training camps has helped me a lot to get to know them better. So last year I had 2 3-week altitude camps with Jai and the climber group going towards the Giro, so I knew what the real Jai Hindley was like. And then seeing him at the Giro, then quite uptight, stressed, under pressure, and just not giving his usual banter he does there. And so you realise then that they're just not being natural. I've just been up to in Sierra Nevada with a couple of guys that are likely on the tour team with Soren and Tees. Get to know them a bit more personally, and then you also understand if you see them acting differently, and maybe perhaps find ways to manage it, come back on things you've had in a more casual atmosphere, and manage the people.
Iffy?
I always, when I judge a DS, I look at their background. If they're an Aussie, they've got a different sort of culture to a Dane or whatever. And then with the Aussies, you normally think, well, he's a Queenslander, he'll be a bit this way, or New South Welshman. But you're a bit of a mixed bag, I reckon, Luke, because you've got strong West Australian connections, South Australian connections. Your dad was spent a lot of time in Tassie. So what do you call yourself? Which state is home base for you?
I call Adelaide home. I was born there, although I lived almost everywhere in Australia. Tasmania, a long time in Melbourne. We're in New South Wales, Western Australia, but Adelaide is for me home. I was born there, spent a lot of time in other parts, but once I settled down as a teenager, then my first home was in Adelaide that I bought. So I still call Adelaide home.
Oh, well, that answers a lot of questions.
Hey, I've got a question. It's left to centre. You've got a World Championship jersey behind you on the wall there. Now, you won 3 in a row, 3 Team Pursuit World titles. Where are the other jerseys?
In the cupboard over there in the office.
Why'd you frame that one?
Just took one random one, put in a frame. It's a bit messy in here, but we've got
nice.
The Dumoulin.
Oh, cool.
Giro.
Yeah. The Poo jersey.
And then this wall
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. So that's 2005, the CSC one, yeah?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And then from 2017, the KOM and the green jersey from Michael Matthews and Warren Bargill.
Hey, Luke, you had one of the, and I'll put it down to your track racing background and super skills that come from that. Dave Zabriskie in that Tour de France crashed in the team time trial, and you were the rider directly behind him, yet didn't crash. How is that possible? Yeah,
I think that came down to the reactions from the track racing. Yeah, he just came out of a right corner. I think he's hit a bump and chain jumped or something, and he's gone over the bars in front of me. And I actually had one hand down on the brakes there, and then the other hand was forward on the extension trying to change gears. And somehow I managed to swerve around him, but probably lucky I was there, because the next two was Bobby Ulick and Ivan Basso, and their reactions probably would have put them.
I heard a funny story about Dave Zabriskie from that tour. Lance was obviously there with Sheryl Crow, and when he took the yellow jersey, he set the challenge to put as many Sheryl Crow songs in his answers at the press conference. So when they're asking him stuff, he's going, all I want to do is have some fun, just to get under his skin. But he was a different cat, Zabriskie.
He was a real character. Dave, No, he was a lot of fun. To have on the team there.
And he was real anal with his cutlery, what he was saying back in the day. Like he was a bit of a germaphobe. He used to bring his own cutlery to races and stuff. And he wouldn't really be comfortable eating out of the buffets and things like that.
What's he doing now, Dave Zabriskie?
We didn't have DZ's nuts. Chamois cream. There you go.
Yeah.
Get some across the jai. Might have to try some new chamois cream.
DZ nuts.
That's it. Get him on the DZ nuts. Hey, just with the team, Luke. Bloody exciting team to watch, because you're always having a crack. You're always mixing up in the finals. You had so much success at the Tour de France. Is this part of the DNA of the team now?
Yeah, I mean it's quite a young team, so we try to develop everybody in a particular way as good as possible. Give them opportunities to have a crack. So we have tended to race a little bit more aggressively last season, this season as well. Obviously, some races where we'll target a GC, we need to hold back a little bit, be a bit more conservative. But a lot of races we're just out there to mix it up and see what we can do.
Iffy?
Do you reckon any of the Aussies will make it to the Tour de France team? They were so good in the Giro, but I know it's very hard to come from a Giro and come back up for a Tour.
Yeah, unlikely. Difficult to back up. They put a lot of emphasis on the GC target at the Giro. Been a hard race for them, so unlikely that one of those guys will back up for the Tour.
Yeah, bummer.
Does that include Bardet as well?
Most likely, yep. I mean, there's the selection's not made yet, but it's, of course, it can be difficult to back up. I don't know exactly the situation the last week. I'm not directly a personal coach of him or contact with him, but to see how he's recovering the last week. But it's a tough one to double up.
Yeah. On a personal note with you, what do you enjoy most about being a director sportif, and compared to, say, when you were a pro, whether it was track or road or both, but those periods, like you've had kind of like the track career, the road career, and then now as a team manager, what have you enjoyed so much about it all?
What I enjoy about being a DS is to see the guys be successful. So not necessarily with a top result, but when we can make a plan together and talk about the race, how we want to race together as a team, and then put things to practice. Then when it all comes together and it goes well, regardless if we win or not, if you see it's gone well, you get a proud feeling, and that really motivates me a lot to see the guys be successful in that way. And as I said, regardless of win or not, I'd rather have a really good plan in place and we race well together and finish second than to get a lucky win that we don't know where it come from. So that's what motivates me, and I can get a good, proud feeling at the end of a race when things go well.
You showed us a few of those jerseys before. You've had so many great moments throughout your career, particularly as a DS as well. Is there any that sort of really stand out, in particular when you come in the office and look at those jerseys?
I mean, there's the ones hanging here are from mostly 2017. So the Giro win there with Tom Dumoulin, and from the Tour, the two jerseys. Obviously the green with Michael Matthews, that was a big fight, that one. We had a plan. We planned for months in advance of exactly in every intermediate sprint how many points he could pick up in which intermediate sprints, what the average points would be in the final or for each stage, how much we could take in a final. And we had an idea how many points we could take based on that plan, and knew someone would have to be exceptional to make more than that. In the end, I think we made within 3 points of that total. There were a couple of exceptional guys there. One of them, with Sagan, had to leave the race. Kittel was exceptional, won a handful of stages and looked out of reach, but then, of course, also didn't make it to Paris. So, and that left the door open, and that was a good feeling to pull that one off.
Iffy.
Now, you might have heard right at the start of the show, Luke, but we've stuffed up. We were supposed to, because we were originally going to go yesterday and the day before, and then we all got moved. And Phil Liggett's got his wonderful ride to raise money for Save the Rhinos in Africa. So I was going to tell all our great listeners, turn off, go to this and come back and watch us after. Get us anytime. So go straight.
You've really got the guilt, don't you? It's just playing on your mind. Just chisel it away. Luke, obviously the memories of the Olympic gold would be just fantastic. And I had a look at this photo here. Bert's obviously quite emotional. The other three look like you're pretty much holding it together. But what can you tell us about the build up to the Athens Olympics and the actual gold medal itself?
I mean, if you look at that photo there, you show, so Brett was really emotional, in tears. The other, I mean, I've got a bit of a smile on my face, but compared to some of the photos we've seen from the World Championships, there everybody was had big grins on their faces. Here it seems like they were almost overwhelmed. So it was almost difficult to realize what had happened, and hard to contain emotion or show emotion, or hard to show that you were happy in a way. But I mean, we had 3 World Championship gold medals on the way leading up to that. The first one was, I wouldn't say a surprise. We took the world record in 2002 at the Com Games. That was a bit of a surprise. But everything coming together in the months before, and the steps we'd taken with Ian McKenzie then the year and a half before that. Took the world record, went to the World Championships as favourites, now world record holders, but still, we quite calm about it. We were nervous ourselves to win our first World Championship there. Took the gold medal, and then from then on the year after in Stuttgart, world record holders and world champions. So that was just a backup. We also had a really strong team there. Following year in Melbourne, we had some riders not available, but the depth we had in that team, we had we had 4 riders or more, still had 5-6 riders capable of winning the World Championship. So it was a tough one in Melbourne, close fight. We won that one. That was, I think, one of the closest World Championships we had. But of course, that was in May, and then a couple of months later, the Olympics, where we were basically red hot favourites, and people were saying that's 1 gold medal Australia will just go there to collect unless we mess it up. So yeah, the to stand on the start line of the final there, knowing you got less than 4 minutes, one small mistake, and you messed up for not only yourself but your 3 teammates as well. There was a lot of pressure on that one in that final, and that's why I think that's why it was so overwhelming afterwards to realise we'd pulled it off.
Scooter?
I always like to remind people of the interview that Geraint Thomas did before the penultimate stage, the time trial of the Tour de France he won in 2018. And a question was put to him, are you nervous going into this time trial? You win or lose the Tour de France with this time trial. And he said, do you feel the pressure? Do you feel under pressure that, this is win or lose? And he said, pressure? He said, this is nothing. You should try lining up for a team pursuit final at the Olympic Games on your home track. Now that's pressure, referring to when he did that in 2012. And I thought, yeah, wow, that's what you're describing as well. Like, okay, it was in Athens, it wasn't on a home velodrome, but you guys were the favourites. You knew that the expectation was that you were going to win, and it's hard to shoulder that pressure. And look, you also had 2 guys. There were 4 guys there that we've shown with Brad McGee, Brett Lancaster, Graham Brown, yourself. But then there's Peter Dawson and also the late Steve Woodridge that was behind as well. That also rode in rounds of that you also have a slice of that medal. If you'd like to comment, Luke.
Yeah, no, like I said, the depth we had there, I think we could have put 2 teams on the start line and come away with 2 medals. It was a great bunch of guys we had in those years, and we just pushed each other further and further. And going back to Geraint Thomas's comment there, I'll also say, as a DS now, people say, "Are you nervous or do you feel pressure?" But it's not often that I get couple of times sweaty palms on the steering wheel, but it's not so often when you have the experience there of sitting on the start line of a team pursuit Olympic Games final. That takes a lot to make you nervous now.
Well,
it's different to an individual.
I was just going to say, can you take us through that final? We've been talking about it. Let's just take us through that final in Athens.
Yep. Maybe first, in the semi-final, we actually took the world record. We lowered our own world record from 3:57 down to 3:56. We overtook the team we were racing against in that semi-final, and sort of backed off a little bit. So it was actually a really good ride. We'd done up until that point. The last couple of laps, we probably gave away maybe a second or so, but we were quite confident then that in the final we could go even quicker. We're actually contemplating, should we go and do the doping control now? It's going to cost us time. Then the world record would be ratified though, and we would have that record. Or do we go home and rest and go back to the village rest and we take the world record tomorrow? I'm pretty glad that we did that, put that time in and went and did the doping control and got that world record confirmed, because that took that pressure off of also to go for our own world record the following evening, because there the pressure was already enough, and there some small mistakes actually started to happen. So there was a touch of wheels at one moment after, but just before 3K, small gap opened up, and it was pretty nervous ride. But I think all in all, compared to the pressure that we had on us, then it's natural that some small things may happen, but luckily we could keep it together enough to still do a really good ride.
And how close was it in the finish? I'm just trying to remember back.
I think almost. We raced of the 3 world titles. I think we're always around 2 or 3 seconds in front of. It was either Great Britain or the first World Championship was against Germany. The Melbourne one was quite close in 2004. I think the final in Athens were also more than 2 seconds, or I think the Brits rode under 4 minutes for the first time in the final, and we were 3:57.
Did it change? Like, obviously people dream of just competing in the Olympics, but to win a gold, did it change? Was it everything that you'd thought it would be?
Yeah, since I was a little kid, I just knew I wanted to win an Olympic gold medal. I had no idea what sport it would be in, but I just set my mind to it, and once I chose cycling, then that was it. Then I wanted to go for it. Followed the pathway through the Charlie Walsh's program, Institute of Sport, into that track endurance team, and eventually knew the best chance for me to take an Olympic gold medal was going to be in the team pursuit.
Well, this is a question for both you and Scotty. What's the protocol when you do win a gold? Because I know when we won the third grand final in 99, we didn't take the medal off for a couple of days. Do you just walk around the village? What's the cutoff? Is it like 24, 48 hours where you can just casually walk into a nightclub straight through to the front? How long do you have it around the neck for?
Well, I can say that it was just that night. So I actually wore it to the club that night, Brett and I, in Sydney 2000. And then after that, it was off the neck, mate. It was in the pocket. I actually had to because I had to do the road race the week later. So I was back on the bike the next day or the next afternoon just to start to roll the legs over and try and actually put some endurance back in the legs to try and get through the road race the following week. So how long – and it's different with a team situation. Like for Luke, so I was going to ask before was when the pressure that you may feel as an individual on the start line, I think is very different to a team. The pressure that Luke and the guys would have had, and I had that with Brett as well, that there's another level of responsibility that you take on board above your own expectations and aspirations. You're now responsible for someone else's childhood dreams. And I think that's sort of an extra lot of pressure that Luke would have had as well on his shoulders, likewise the other guys in that final. But then you get to share that as well. So that's a common bond that those guys have forever. So I don't know how long you wore your medal for, Luke, but I reckon as a group, like a band of brothers kind of situation, you might have kept it on for a few days.
No, we lapped it up, but yeah, it was we definitely had it in the pocket of the club for a couple of days. But I think we actually all had to disappear pretty quick after the final. I think we stayed on for 2 days. Spent one of them signing 1,600 posters. And then with a hangover, and then the following day, and one more night, and then the following day we're all back to Europe. And I mean, a couple of the guys had professional teams already. I was still in search for one, so I wanted to get back and start racing again on the road. And
I got 2 questions. Did you go to that famous party at the Irish bar after winning at Athens? And second question, did you have one of the passports that Shane Bannon almost lost? Have you heard that story?
I don't think so.
They all went to the Irish bar, and he was dancing on the table, obviously with John Eales, the rugby guy, and I think the table snapped or whatever. But it was a big night, and he couldn't find the passports the next day. They're all in a bag. I think it was the entire track team or the cycling team, but he got it back. But it would have been amazing because that was an amazing year for the track program. They've come under fire of late, obviously, with a lack of gold medals. But that year itself, being able to connect with other successful Australian athletes would have been awesome as well.
Yeah, I was for sure. I was actually just discussing this with my team, with a couple of guys the last couple of weeks. But how that success of the when one group or when the team pursuit team started to become successful, it also drove the others in that group then to also step up. And then we had Kieran world champions, sprint world champions, Ryan Bailey winning both at the Olympic Games, Anna Mears incredibly successful, and that just seemed to drive each other or drive the culture in the team to work hard, and then that success came along with it. But it was a great culture in the team in those years.
Success breeds success, as they say. So you just mentioned that you had to get back to Europe and try and get a contract. How did that gold medal help you to get into a pro World Tour team?
I guess it would have helped a bit. But actually, the first race I did when I came back was Ron and Pfalz stage race. And I won the first stage of it and then had the yellow jersey for a couple of days as well. So used the good shape there to also show myself against the professional teams. And that also helped a little bit. And then ultimately it was I signed for CSC, was Danish team. where I'd raced early, or actually before I went to Melbourne for those World Championships in May. Done a couple of races in Denmark where they had already noticed me there. So a little bit of everything adding up, and then the opportunity did come up in 2005 to sign with them, or for the 2005 season.
With your style, do you sort of subliminally take bits of directors that you've had throughout your riding career and take what you want to evolve into your own style?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've worked with a lot of different coaches throughout my own career, a lot of different sport directors on different teams, seeing what I thought worked well and what I thought didn't work, learned from those experiences and sort of adapted my own style of coaching or directing from that.
Were you part of those famous boot camps that Bjarne Reese used to do with the CSC boys? And can you give the listeners a bit of an insight on what they were?
Yeah, they were pretty intense. I did 3 of those with the military, or Danish military guy, B.S. Christensen. The first one was 48 hours where we walking all night without flashlights, walking under moonlight, with a 16-kilo backpack on, army boots, and walking through a forest the whole night. Different tasks throughout the day where they'd split the team up, including all the office staff, soigneurs, mechanics, everybody. So it was 60 people at the camp. Split us up into different groups of around 10 people. Then for each activity we had, they chose a new leader for the group. So it was a little bit to see who has the leadership qualities, who's a follower, who's going to complain, who's going to step up and take on a challenge, just to learn a bit about the characters of everybody. And it really came out there. And, of course, I had to lead a 12-kilometre walk overnight on the second night. I was shitting myself about that. But, I mean, then in the end, you just get the job done.
Luke, I remember you telling a story about there was a sniper situation. You had to try and find the sniper or get out a door as a group or something. Can you run us through that?
Yeah, well, that was one of the activities. I think that was the second year, the second boot camp I did. But so we had the Danish military. We were in like a practice area or whatever, where they have some old buildings, etc. And there was a hostage up in one of the buildings. We had to come out of this bunker and try to rescue this hostage. So we all just come running out of the bunker, don't see anybody, and then they were real guns but shooting blanks, and then somehow you knew when you were shot. You had an earpiece in and it would tell you that you've been shot with a laser or something. And so we'd come out straight away ringing in all our ears. So if you were shot, someone had to carry you back to the bunker until the ringing went away. Then you could start again. And 20 of us ran out of the bunker, and then 20 of us were laying there. There was no one to carry them back.
Dead ducks.
After a minute, the ringing went away. We could go back to the bunker, reset, came out. Again, we're all laying there. Then they gave us the tip off. Okay, there's a sniper out there. You need to find him first. Maybe you better go out to the sides and try to round him off. It took us an hour to find this guy. And he just kept, in the end it was successful, but I don't know how many times we died.
Kept with 9 lives, eh?
Do you think it was a successful strategy, those camps, in terms of bonding and as you said, find out who's made of the real stuff?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it was interesting to see when I think back now, seeing what I've seen of my teammates. I was basically a neo-pro. I was pretty young then, and did see things there with their characters that I noticed came out later in the races. And I think it would be really interesting now as a sport director to also put riders under pressure in something outside of cycling and just see how they react.
How many of the well, I'm not sure if there are any, but other than yourself, but how many that showed through that to be leaders went on to be team managers?
There's actually quite a few from that team. I think at Strada Bianchi this year, we sat with 6 or 7 of us from that team alone. as sport directors. So Fabrizio Guidi, then you had the Danish guys Lars Mikkelsen, Matty Breschel, Nicky Sorensen, Kim Anderson was there as a DS. Them with myself.
And how many joined the army?
as snipers.
Zero. You wouldn't really be able to get away with it as much nowadays, would you? Because I mean, I don't know what the younger generation are like as much in current cycling, but it just really does feel like a different dynamic, and you've almost got to be that extra level like of understanding, and it's not as old school as it was.
Yeah, also, I mean, the professionals are getting younger and younger. And when you look at the average age of our team, it's, there was, I think when I turned professional, there was probably no riders younger than that in the team. So, yeah, they're getting signed younger and younger. And then, of course, it's they've still got to grow up and become men, a lot of those guys. So, it is a lot about managing them and also helping them to continue to develop.
I noticed that, Luke, from an Australian track cycling program. So I've come on now as a selector for the track team. And if I go back to my time, like how immature we were in terms of understanding health and nutrition and, just training and power outputs and all those kind of things, we just did what we were told. Your group may have had a better understanding, but probably still not like they do now. This young group, like the team that will go to Tokyo from the Team Pursuit squad, they have a really good idea of power outputs, what powder ratio, what's per kilogram, what it's going to take, what their future may be because of the data that they're getting now as to whether they could be good road riders in the future as well or not. Nutrition, understanding of all of that, so much more mature, and they're still a very young team. So collectively, I think road, track, everything is just so much more, I guess everyone's so much more mature now about understanding their body and what they can and potentially can do.
Yeah, I think all the data that we now have access to can also show where the potential is and what needs to adapt, or where the strengths are, where weaknesses are. It's incredible what we can see.
You mentioned before, so the old national coach that you guys won with Ian McKenzie, then Charlie Walsh, who I was with years before that. I remember, you don't have to talk about it if you don't want to, but I remember the previous team used to always go to Colorado Springs for altitude training. Every team goes and does altitude training these days, 6 weeks or whatever it may be. But I remember for you, it was always a little bit different. You go to track national championships and ride an incredible individual pursuit, but then go to Colorado Springs and then not have such a good time. And it was a bit about, how fast you could or couldn't adapt to altitude training. It's like, I guess, the understanding of individual athletes back then, or the unwillingness to understand individual athletes just wasn't there. And if you didn't conform to what everyone else was doing, then, well, too bad. I guess, have you learnt from that your time, from back then, on how to actually work with individuals better?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that was, we're talking going back to the 90s there, or end of the 90s. Obviously now with the more data we have, then we can see how individual athletes do get affected by different, or how they react on different training, how they react at altitude, etc. So that would have definitely helped me in those days. Obviously the general line for the most of the team there wasn't ideal for me. I'd struggle a lot with the high intensity training in Colorado. Struggled a lot with the high cadence. I was more, wanted to have it ride a bigger gear, use strength more, and that's if the data was available there, then perhaps it could look a bit different. How riders can be treated individually as well.
I think the data probably was available. There's just an unwillingness to actually interpret it the way it needed to be for the administration.
Well, that's one of the amazing things that I see, Luke. Teams are actually selecting riders on data. They've hardly even seen them race, just getting their data. It's the last 2 years.
I mean, it's obviously it shows the physical talent, and it's pretty accurate. Pays off a lot of the time, but of course, there's it's still a bike race. You've still got to steer the bike and ride in a bunch with 100 60 other guys elbow to elbow. So the physical qualities is not the ultimate deciding factor. So you still got to be able to race the bike as well, understand the race, read a race. The guys who are strong in those qualities, then they, if they lack something physically, they'll still be good bike riders. So
I guess Mark Cavendish is the perfect example of not looking at the data.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So look,
and Valverde. Sorry, Dan. Valverde is probably the example of the latter. In that there's someone that just has an incredible brain and love and passion. Obviously, his data is good. His numbers are good, but at the age of 41 to win a stage, a hilltop finish in the Dauphiné just shows how incredibly astute he is as a rider as well.
how old was Chris Horner when he won the Vuelta? He was 41, right?
Yeah.
41 or 43? He might have been 43.
41.
30.
41 when he won it. Yeah.
Hey, Luke, you mentioned before you did a bit of work with the sprint team going into the Tour. What are the goals for you guys for the Tour this year, and what would look like a big green tick in terms of what you want to achieve?
Well, ultimately, we'll go there targeting stage results. Last year we had we made some steps with our sprint team. With the lead out, we had a couple of days there where it came together pretty well. We've continued working on that with that group of guys, and hope to really be able to be up there challenging and hopefully dominate the sprints. That we can have a good strong lead out there, and hopefully pick up a couple of stage wins in the sprints. Then, of course, with the aggressive style of racing out of breakaways, we have a few guys in there that will suit them quite well. So, ultimately, it'll be targeting stage results, stage wins, and hopefully we can pick up a couple.
Iffy?
No.
And then you want to wrap things with?
No, Luke, absolutely sensational to have you on, as always. Look forward to finally catching up and having that coffee. We've missed out for the last couple of years. And please say hello to your lovely wife, Sylvie, who they tell me has recovered from that week she travelled on the Tour de France with me all those years ago. This is great.
16 years ago.
Hey, Luke, I asked you about what you liked about being a DS, but what do you miss about being a pro rider and now in the team car? And what's the difference, like physically, mentally? What's the differences between a pro rider and then now being a manager?
Yeah, I mean, what I do miss a little bit is that to go after that success yourself. So that following a training plan, working towards being in the top shape, and then getting there, and then having that using that shape in a race and having that success. I still feel that a little bit, but it's not for me personally. Then it's as a team. When I go to a nice race where it's a nice stage and I know it would suit me and it's nice weather, then I think it'd be really nice to still be a bike rider here. But those days are well outnumbered by the days it's piss and rain, freezing cold. And I think I'm happy I'm sitting back in the car today and not have to get on the bike.
We've got one question from the viewers, and it's from Chris Blockley. He says, morning from Ireland, lads. Quick question. George said on the Social Distance podcast that some lads enjoy books and one teammate only watch YouTube. This is for you, Luke. What's your preference for relaxing when you're at Grand Tours? Or do you get a chance to relax?
Now I don't know. My day starts at probably 6, 7 in the morning and finishes at midnight. So by the time we meetings around it with the staff, etc., meetings with riders, the preparation for the stage. They're pretty busy days. So on the race itself, I don't now as a sport director, I struggle to find 5 minutes to call the family a lot of days. So as a rider, there was when I was racing, there was no Netflix, not good internet in the hotels, etc. So
Cards.
Yeah, take a book or watch TV in French or something if you see if you can find something to watch.
Well, as if
Star Wars with Matt Goss once in a French hotel. He watched it and about half an hour to go, he says, "Hey, what's this you're watching?" He had no
Tasmanian. Yeah. Didn't make the Bass Strait. But
Dan, I used to subscribe to Cycling Weekly magazine and, be hanging out every month for that magazine to arrive. Living in Germany, it wasn't easy to get any English TV or, any reading content of any type. So, yeah, subscribe to the magazine. And I'd read cover to cover, just every story and article, just to get something from the outside world. Eventually, later, as I progressed as a writer, I couldn't be bothered even reading it because I read, most of those articles were written by people that had no idea about cycling, and I didn't know why I was reading them in the first place.
Oh, shots fired! that wasn't your only magazine subscription, was it, Scooter?
Yes, it was, Dan.
Okay. As if he said, thanks for joining the detour, Luke. It's been bloody fascinating chat, mate. We've loved the stories and insights, and the viewers would have too, and listeners. So appreciate it, mate, and all the best for the Tour de France. No doubt you guys will be lighting it up.
No worries, guys.
Thanks, buddy.
Luke. Thanks, mate.
See you, buddy.
See you, mate. Luke Roberts, absolute legend. Time for a quick word from our great mates at Bike Exchange. We've got plenty more to come on the detour. Iffy had a chat with Matt White. We're going to have a snippet of George Bennett. We'll talk about the Dauphiné. Plenty more. See you after this quick word from Bike Exchange.
Look at this bike. You think it's just a bike, right? But it's not. It's a bike 374 people are looking at. This guy, this girl, them, all looking at it. People from here, there, and wherever this is. People that are looking for a bike. Or just a piece of it. Amateurs, semi-amateurs, and pro-amateurs. This guy wants this bike, but with this crank and these bars. This could be the perfect match. But not this one. This girl has a bike to sell, and thousands of people might purchase it. Eyes on Bikes help grow small businesses. His, hers, yours, and the latest data and insights help those businesses keep moving. We are the world's #1 bike marketplace, with over 500,000 products and 900 brands, where buyers and sellers are brought together in a place where a bike is never just a bike. Bike Exchange, where the world buys, sells, learns, and rides.
Thanks again to our great mates at Bike Exchange. Now, George Bennett, we were obviously following him a bit on the Giro, and we're in awe of that famous photograph where they said he went down to the bottom of the climb and rode back up with his teammate. Now, he debunked that on the Social Distance podcast, said it was bullshit. He said it was like 80 meters. He rode down and then just literally went straight back up because they got to the hotel and his teammate was almost disqualified because they were saying that if, it's not legal. If George had gone to the bottom and done the climb again and been helping him or whatever, caused this big brouhaha. But George didn't know because he turned all his social media off. Like he didn't watch any social media. So his teammate was going, mate, it's gone viral. I'm getting all these messages. He goes, what are you talking about? And then he said as well, like, what happened? He gave insight as to why he finished with the feed bag. He said someone gave him the wrong clothing, and he said there's just the balls up that day. But he did talk about, obviously, he really struggled in the cold. This is his insights from Social Distance Potty about how cold he actually got at the Giro.
Firstly, we were particularly unlucky that there was 5 really bad weather days, and they were always on the mountain stages. Not one of the easy sprint stages was bad weather. They were always 25 degrees, beautiful. But every time we go to the mountain, it'd just be freezing cold and shit. But what was frustrating is being in New Zealand or Australia, you always want to be it doesn't matter if it's raining. You want to be the tough guy that just can handle all conditions. So even if you're G'd up for it and you're not sitting in the bus going, oh, it's raining, I don't want to race today. If you're still I don't care about the rain or the stuff, doesn't matter. You don't get to decide that. If you care about the rain or not, it's at a cellular level. So you go out, you're all G'd up, trying to be the tough man of all conditions. And then when you're not, I just found out that I was the worst possible guy in the race at it. And you just felt you'd limp in and you'd be like, what happened? You'd be like, I got cold. And it was 6 degrees and rain. It's everybody got cold. What are you talking about? It was cold. Of course you got cold. You just went 50K down a hill and it was 3 degrees at the top and maybe 8 degrees at the bottom, and it was torrential rain. Of course everyone got cold. Why did you lose 7 minutes and why did they not? And it's just I don't know. It's an unanswerable question.
We were talking about that yesterday on the bike. George and I were talking about the cold there at the Giro, and I referenced stage 16 actually specifically, which was I think it was stage 16, wasn't it? That was Passagel.
That was Jow.
And like on that day particularly, there was guys like guys from my team like Michael Hepburn, Chris Jensen. They all had storming days. They all climbed really well. They all climbed there was like 40, 50 guys left when these guys that normally would be dropped with with much bigger groups still there. But because it was so cold and those guys are considerably bigger than like George or the GC guys, they can handle it a little bit better. They're a little bit more robust. So it is true that, like, man, when it's so cold like that, when you're a GC guy, you're considerably smaller than those sort of guys. And also, like, you can't really do anything about it. Like, if you're not built that way, if you're not genetically built, like if you're a Scandinavian, those guys are built. They've all got a little bit of, they're a bit bigger guys. They're all built because they're born in bloody Arctic conditions. Genetically, they're hardwired to be able to handle those conditions a little bit better than what a lot of other people are. So,
speaking of Scandos, on that day, I was riding along and I had like maybe 4 or 5 jackets on. It was just so cold, like gabbers with rain jackets, with like thermal jackets, undershirts, everything. And we're riding along going up this hill, and I was still freezing. And I looked across at the guy that ended up riding GC for us, Tobias Foss, and he had a t-shirt on, just had shorts, shorts and nicks. And I was like, surely you're taking the piss. Surely you're just trying to get in our heads.
Can't they give you like hot tea and things like that as well? Like, what are some of the other things that they do?
Bro, that's like pissing on a house fire.
Yeah,
like you got hypothermia. Oh, here's a hot tea. Oh, sweet, all good now. Sweet.
You might head over a tub of Vicks. You might water with the towel.
You might put the doormat out, but the house burns down still.
Yeah, I tried to contribute something, but it got shut down. But Scooter, this does my head in. Like, it's going to get freezing. Surely someone's come up with the technology that's lightweight, that you can flick a switch or flick a button and it just warms you up or whatever. Isn't it out there? Like, because George was saying that they were snapping things, those snap heat pads or whatever. Guys were stuffing those in their shorts or whatever. But this is obviously a serious issue. If you're built like George Bennett, and you look at the weather conditions, prevention's better than cure. Like, you need to have some sort of tech. You think of how much money goes into these grand tours and what's at stake. Surely that part of it, you could come up with something.
Yeah, well, man, I don't have your answers there. I know you can get, your electric socks and different things, but I just don't know if they make them that are compatible for cycling. Cycling clothing is so thin, so your socks are thin because the shoes have to fit snugly. Can you have things that are that thin and still have the heat effect? Where's the energy coming from? Is there a battery pack? Are you allowed to carry a battery pack? For these sorts of things, I don't know. I just don't know. So if you think it like skiing, for example, so skiing, downhill skiers, they wear the ski suits. It is a thicker material than Lycra, but they're cold. They are, they do their warm-up exercises, and that's all about going fast. Then they put the jackets on at the bottom. They can't cruise around in the mountains, in sub-zero temperatures, just in their ski suits for too long. And if you're, out there doing leisure skiing, you've got the big, thick padded stuff, all those sorts of coats and gloves, and you just can't wear those things in cycling. It's just not aerodynamic enough, and you're going to lose out too much, whenever the race is fast. So it's one of those challenges.
There's one part of that podcast, and I don't think if you're going to show it, I'll shut up. Tell me, Dan. But
no, I don't have it.
Where he decides he can't do it again, so he absolutely loads up with like all this really thick, deep fat stuff and deep heat and mixes it all up, and he covers himself in it. And he's in the bus getting ready. He's got 20 minutes, half an hour to start, so he covers himself. Then after he's done it all, it comes through that they've changed the stage and they've changed the start by nearly an hour, and he's sitting in the bus with a steam starting to come out his ears.
That was funny. He goes, I just started like burning up like on the bus.
Anyway.
Yeah, the heat stuff's not great, because then, if it does warm up later, it becomes a real challenge. Or even after the stage, trying to wipe you down. Sometimes they use rubbing alcohol to wipe you down, and that rubbing alcohol on top of the heat stuff as well. And Yeah.
I'm trying to think of the red. We used to have some stuff. It was red. It was a red
Tiger
greasy. No. It had another name. It was really hot, and you put it onto it would burn. But on the really terrible days when we're amateurs, Tour of Tassie and whatever, we'd rub this. I can't think of the name. It was a reddy orangey cream. But
I know that. Yeah,
you know the stuff. Yeah. Yeah. But if you slipped and got it onto the old testes, I can tell you, woo! You were moving. You were moving.
Don't mix it up with your chamois cream. That's for sure.
No,
Okay, I'll scroll through some of the viewer comments. Cheryl says, "See you on the replay." So that's obviously Phil Liggett's right. Scott Davies says, "Good to see you, fellas. Go Richie." Obviously, Wendy Superfan. Hi, Dan, John, Scott, and Luke. A bit late on that one. Matthew says, "Hi, boys." Jason from the Maldives. Good afternoon, gents. Sasha Bone, what is your passion? What's your passion, Scooter?
Might have been for Luke. They might have been for Luke.
Probably. A bit slow on that.
Yeah.
Another one for you too. John asks, "Hey guys, who is Richie's biggest threat to his overall tonight? Is it Lopez?"
Yeah, I think it's the Movistar squad. They're the strongest other squad there. But I reckon Ineos are good enough to beat all challenges. So I'm really looking forward to what will be a great night.
Scooter,
his biggest threat might be his teammate Geraint Thomas.
Mm.
They won't race against each other, but he may. The tactics may be that Geraint's the man to put everyone else under pressure, attack up the road, and then might hold on for the win. But I'm sure he'd like Richie to get the win because he wants Richie obviously to repay the favour at the Tour de France.
So David wants to ask you, if Richie wins the Dauphiné, are Ineos more likely to decide during the race who to support at the Tour de France, or will Geraint Thomas be all the way leader, you reckon?
I reckon Geraint, that's like Ineos, they don't play with those sorts of things. They've got a plan, and maybe Richie will be like a second protected rider, and like Martinez at the Giro, like he would have placed higher up had he not ridden for Bernal as much as he did. But he was also, whenever he did the job for Bernal, he then held on the best he could to make sure he stayed up there on the GC and had a good result in the overall classification. Richie might be that kind of rider, but I think they're all in for Geraint unless something strange happens and they can change things at the last moment.
Well, Geraint was the one that let Richie go to win the stage. He said to him, "All right, mate, go." I mean, if Geraint had wanted to hold him back, he could have had a crack himself.
Yeah. Look, it's funny, isn't it? The end of last year, I was thinking, wow, it's fantastic. Richie's finally got his podium spot in the Tour de France, where he's always wanted. He's gone back to Sky, you might say, to Ineos, take the big money, and he'll have a wonderful swan song. Hasn't been like that at all. He has found that level again. He's going better than last year. So, okay, he'll end up most likely having to dig very deep for G sometime during this Tour de France. But if most likely they ride for the both and something happens, you can see he's going to get another opportunity, a big chance to get another opportunity in the Tour de France. So I'm excited.
This could be like Froome and Wigo all over again.
Yeah, well, things can change.
Tell him to wait.
Yeah.
Now, Linda wants to know, can Jack Haig win tonight?
I'd love to say yes, but I don't think so. I think he's about where he is at the moment. He's doing really well. This has been a big step up for Jack, and Bahrain are all in for him for the Tour de France to see what he can do as well. But I reckon he's around about the mark. I think when whether it's a Lopez or a Thomas or a Porte or maybe even Lysenko, but if one of those guys really light it up, and I just don't think Jack's got that little bit extra. If he can hold on to fifth or maybe move up a little bit, but I don't think he can go for the stage win. Love to see it though.
If he was 2 down, he could win tonight, but he's not.
Your mate Scooter, last of the comments.
He's only a fraction off.
Sorry,
a fraction off.
Look, Jack's right on fifth overall. He's at 34 seconds off Richie Porte, right? So it's still close. It's an uphill finish. No one's going to leave anything out on the road. They'll all go for it as much as they can, and who knows? I just don't think Jack has got more than 35 seconds over Richie Porte on the final climb today. Without throwing in the other guys like Lopez and whatever, I just don't think he's that much better than Richie. But hey, I'd love him to be. I don't care who it is that wins, but I'd go for Jack. He hasn't had the big wins that Richie has.
I was very impressed.
Jack's a boy from Central Victoria.
Very impressed. He can do it. Very good.
And Scooter, good mate, yours, Rob Eva. Some mountain bike downhill events, we wore wetsuits under our gear, not going to work for road events. So
I didn't know that. Yeah, I wonder if that was so for I imagine that's for warmer weather, but perhaps also a bit of protection as well. Because these crazy mountain bikers like Rob Eva don't mind throwing themselves down amongst the rocks.
Mad as a cut snake.
Yeah. But that's right. Like, so any sort of clothing that is going to make you so warm that could then, you might have before. You don't normally start straight up into the mountains. You've got to ride to them typically. So you've got to get through whatever number of kilometres to get to the climbs. You've got to go up a climb, down a descent. The weather variables are so much throughout a long stage, whether it's in the mountains or on the way to, make it really challenging, to stay warm all day. And that's just one of the brutal aspects of cycling and why it makes it so tough. And it's going to be hard for George now. Like, this is obviously going to scar him going forward. Whenever he has to do something super cold in a race, he's going to be a bit nervous, isn't he, about whether he's going to have what it takes to get through and do what he needs to do for himself and for his team.
He's just got to get the timing right with a deep heat and he'll be fine. If you didn't have that delay to the stage, you'd be laughing. Now, Iffy, you did an interview with Sports Director Matt White prior to this live recording, and it's in 3 parts because we couldn't shut you up. Here's part 1 with John's chat earlier today.
Okay, so with me again, we have Matt White, head DS with Team Bike Exchange. Whitey, you're down home in southern Spain at the moment, having a bit of a break. How's it going, bud?
Yeah, good. Back home with the family for this week and a little bit of next week, and then off to Tour of Switzerland on Wednesday afternoon.
Okay. So what's the situation? Like, you're down in southern Spain there. What is the situation there with the whole COVID pandemic?
Yeah, so they're getting a bit of a move on there with the vaccination process. Unfortunately, I'm too young at the moment to get vaccinated. The thing they're working on 50 up at the moment. So hopefully by the time we leave for the Tour de France, I would have had my first vaccine. As far as the cases, I honestly couldn't tell you the exact numbers, but I know it has gone down a hell of a lot. And the hospitals are still busy, but the hospitals are still busy because there's been such a backload of all other operations that have been put on the back burner since COVID started. So I've got a couple of mates who work at the hospital system, and they said that it's as busy as ever because now it's not the COVID cases, but people who've had cancer cases or other surgeries that have been put back because the hospitals have been on the limit for a year. That they're starting to get it. That's starting to be able to treat those people now. So, look, by the Spanish government was saying that by the end of summer they'll have everyone vaccinated. So in the next 2 to 3 months. So I know a few people, a lot of people who got vaccinated in the month of May while I was away. But those people were either working in different industries that the government sees that needs to be vaccinated, or they're older than me, so they've been able to get the vaccine first.
Yeah, I see made the news yesterday that Egan Bernal and his girlfriend both tested positives and are about to fly off to Colombia. So that's a scary thought.
Well, he was clearly breaking the bubble every time he was passing on with over the fence there, wasn't he?
Definitely on the last day. No doubt about that.
So yeah, there's no surprise that she's got it.
That's scary stuff. And just as we went on air, Dan, who's doing his magic in the background, we can't come on at the moment, but he mentioned about this South African golfer who finished the I just saw a world champion run past you in the background, mate. Definitely a world champion. So he's as he plays up the 18th, he's about to take a 6-shot lead into the final round of this 2 million, I think, euro competition, and they've told him he's COVID positive.
Yeah. I hadn't heard about the story either until Jonesy mentioned it, but clearly he has no symptoms. But the rules are the rules, and I feel for the guy because obviously a 6-shot lead going into the last round is a pretty good place to be, and It sort of brings up the sort of discussion of when everyone, for example, in a team, when we've got our 90 people, 100 people vaccinated, staff, riders, everyone's vaccinated, and then we go to races. When is that point going to be where if someone tests positive, that it's okay? Because at the end of the day, if everyone in our bubble is vaccinated, well, then we're no risk to anybody else. And then by the time we're all vaccinated, there's certainly going to be a massive percentage of the population who are vaccinated. And, you don't get sent home from having a common cold. And if you've had 2 jabs of the vaccine and everyone around you has been vaccinated, well, then there's actually no risk to anyone involved. So it's going to be really interesting what plays out more so, I think, for next year, because I think the process will still be happening all of this season. But, for example, for races next year, for example, at Tour Down Under, what is the risk of bringing people to Australia when everyone has been vaccinated? You would hope the Australian government can vaccinate everyone in Australia by January as well. So, people who have been vaccinated. Not the way they're going
at the moment, mate. Not the way they're going at the moment. But anyway, it's another story.
No. Well, there's an election in October, mate. They might get a wriggle on.
Well, exactly right. So, we've been watching, as you will, of course, the Dauphiné, which is always a wonderful race. And, hey, our Aussie mate, Richie, has hit the lead. And a good ride by Damien Housen as well, to be right up there at the pointy end when the big hitters are having a go. So what are your thoughts on the Dauphiné with 1 day to go, mate?
Yeah, well, also, as I mentioned, great rides by Jack Haig and Ben O'Connor. So we've got 4 Aussies really featuring very well in the Dauphiné. Well, today's the last day, so it's going to be a big one. Movie Stars tactics are going to be pretty simple. They're going to try to ambush Ineos. The problem is it's going to be pretty hard to ambush Ineos with pretty much their Tour de France team. Even though they're not at 100% form at the moment, they're going to try to ambush Richie, put someone up the road, and if they've got the legs, try to have that person, whether it's Mas or Valverde or Lopez, go across. But I think it's going to be pretty hard for anyone to crack Ineos in one stage, and that's all we're talking about now. I think Richie's in pole position to win the Dauphiné, really.
Yeah, so it's interesting. It used to be, Dauphiné was the race that they used as lead up to the Tour de France. Some would go to Tour of Suisse, and now we've got the two of the big hot favourites are doing Slovenia instead, because they're Slovenian, I suppose.
Rodrig's not even racing.
Oh, no, that's right. He's not. That's right. He's not even racing.
Rodrig's not even racing. Pogacar is doing the Slovenia. Rodrig's not even racing. And then you'll see Carapaz and the vast majority of our Tour de France team are going to be at Tour of Switzerland.
Yeah, so I'm going to ask you about that. It starts tonight as well with a 10K time trial. But Chavez, we're all really keen to see how he's going. He's shown some really good form earlier this year in one-day races as well as in the Tour. So we're looking forward to it. So what's your feedback there?
Well, he finished third in a one-day race in Switzerland on Friday. So he went to the line. He was third in a three-up kick, but he went to the line with Idi Schelling from Bora, who won, and also Rui Costa from UAE, former world champion. The three of them went to the line together, and that was on Friday. So that was a Grand Prix Gippingen. That was a pre-Tour of Switzerland one-day race that the boys did.
Right, raced that many years ago myself, mate.
Yeah, it's probably the same circuit, mate. Probably the same circuit. And so he was third. No, I expect big things from Esteban in Tour of Switzerland, and I wouldn't be surprised there if he was pretty close to a podium overall, and obviously feature in the mountain stages. It's a very different time trials in the Tour of Switzerland to the Tour de France. So they've got a 10K prologue this afternoon, which is flat. But then the major time trial is it's basically 10K up a hill, and 10K down at the other side. So it's certainly not what we've got in the Tour de France. In the Tour de France, we've got 60 kilometres of dead flat time trialing, whereas Tour of Switzerland, it's 30K, 10 flat, and that's this afternoon. And then basically it's a hill time trial with a descent down to the line. But no, he's in super shape, and I would expect big things from him at Tour of Switzerland.
That was part one of the interview with White. Now, just to clarify, John Rahm is Spanish, the golfer, and it was 2 million Australian. I know that was chiseling in a lot of people watching that, just to clear that up. But no, it was unbelievable footage. I mean, it's got nothing
I think it was the event in South Africa.
No, it was in America.
Oh, was it? Okay.
I don't know where you pluck that.
I don't know where the South African came from.
No. But what
Reasonable
baffled me is
Phil Liggett is in South Africa.
That's right. There you go. But what baffled me with that whole thing is, like, apparently they were told the results at 4:30 or whatever, and they're claiming, "I know we had to double check, triple check." But here you got a guy. I mean, they said he's asymptomatic, but he's still COVID positive, and he's walking around the crowds, and let him finish the last 3 or 4 holes, and then they break it to him at the end, and just surreal, absolutely surreal. So anyway, here's part 2 of the chat with John and Matt White.
And the same
amongst others, we've got Michael Matthews there. We've got Lucas Hamilton there. A really good squad there.
Yeah, and so exactly, I was going. Michael Matthews didn't quite get what we hoped out of the classic season. But he was right in the mix all the time, and his form was good. So of course he'll be going for. I reckon he'll have a go for that green jersey, but you'll make that decision, I suppose, with what happens on the road. But why wouldn't he?
Yeah, well, the first focus for Michael at the tour will be the first 2 days, because the first 2 days are uphill finishes. So we've got a plan in place, and we'll obviously reassess after we see those first 2 days. But first things first, and that's to get the race legs back on in Tour of Switzerland. He's done a really good camp up there in Livigno in Italy. Drove down, raced on Friday. I think he was 5th or 6th on Friday. He was 2nd or 3rd in the kick behind. And Tour of Swiss starts today. And this is obviously because of our obviously majority of the team being Southern Hemisphere. They don't have their national championships the weekend in between. I think the 1 or 2 Europeans who will go to the tour with us, I don't even think they're riding the nationals anyway. I think they're just going to focus on recovering from Tour of Switzerland, and so we're going to go into the Tour de France a day or 2 early, because we want to have a really good look at those first 2 stages. And to do that, we've got to go in early to have a little bit more time, because even though we're still in pandemic, the start of the Tour de France is pretty frantic, and just that extra day will give us some chances to check it. Murder Breton, we know that's stage 2. We've done that stage a few times in the Tour de France. But the day 1 climb is a new one. It's a new one, so we want to check out the last half of that stage and know it like the back of our hand.
I'm looking forward to seeing how Lucas Hamilton goes, because I've been watching. I always sort of compare him with Jack Haig in that they're similar in lots of ways, and their development's been similar. Jack's really, been given a new lease of life by Bahrain to have a go in this year's tour, by the sounds of it. And I can just see that Lucas could do the same. I really think it's his time to fly. So how's his form been just over the last few weeks?
Yeah, good. He's good. He's got a little minor injury that was going to take him into Tour of Switzerland, but he's been building steadily for the main goal, and that's the tour. So he's going well. Switzerland, he's going to be at a good level, but he's a couple of years younger than Jack. I think he's 3 years at least younger than Jack. But no, we're looking forward to seeing what Lucas can do in July.
So you've got a team in Slovenia as well. Who's riding Slovenia?
Yeah, it's a bit of a mixed bag, guys. We got 1 or 2 coming across from the Dauphiné. Our younger crew. The unfortunate thing is, for general classification, they're going to be coming up against the defending winner of the Tour de France, who's using it as his only race to prepare for the tour. But there's some sprint stages there. We've got Alex Edmondson and Rob Stannard, we've still got to make a decision on Caden Groves, because Caden Groves actually went down and crashed out of the Dauphiné on about 48 hours ago and banged his knee up and got a lot of swelling around the kneecap. So we're going to have to make a decision in the next 24 to 48 hours whether he can still go to Tour of Slovenia.
So when the guys will do the Tour of Suisse, and they're still going to have like a week and a half for the tour, will they just go into altitude, or is there another race planned?
No, the next week. So they've got 13 days till the Tour de France from the finish of the Tour of Switzerland, and the weekend after is the National Championships weekend. So unless they're doing their National Championships, there's no racing. They all will go back to different environments. Some guys will be at sort of sea level in Girona. Some guys will go back to their place in Andorra, which some guys live at altitude. Some guys live at semi-altitude. Depending on who, it really is individual. Some guys will want to stay away from altitude in that last 10 days and some guys will just want to recover as best they can. But yeah, very, very individual their run-ins to into the tour.
I've been loving the Dauphiné, and it's just continued the same frenetic type of racing that's been at most races for the last 18 months. You know, it's just been amazing what's happened. And every stage has been a lot of aggression. You mentioned young O'Connor. He was having a bash up the road in the early days. I mean, I like that Lawson Craddock. He's been around for a while, Lawson, but he's been up the road every day, and he's a bit of a character. Were you involved with him at some stage?
No, I think we missed each other by a year at Garmin there, and no, he has been riding really aggressive. And I think the reason, I think that's the general style of racing. That's how the guys race these days. Yeah. But the Dauphiné, because a lot of teams do send their sort of Tour de France longer lists to the Dauphiné, there's a lot of guys still vying for selection in some teams, and I think that also adds to the aggression of that race, especially especially in the French teams. That's the Dauphiné is up now. There's the Tour de France, and then there's Paris-Nice and the Dauphiné, and that's as big as it gets for the French teams. And if you're in a French team and you're moving well at the Dauphiné, well, that's a way to guarantee or solidify your spot in the Tour de France roster.
Yeah, I see that young O'Connor just signed on for another 3 years with AG2R. So impressive. They've good snaffled him.
Yeah, they like what they see. He's been aggressive this year, and he had some really good rides a couple of years ago in Dimension Data, and then last year at the back end of the Giro. And even this year, he's been aggressive wherever he's ridden, and that's a big value, especially on a French team where especially that team's had a big overhaul. They lost Bardet, they lost Pierre Latour, they've lost their GC riders, and they're actually pretty short on climbers. Whereas they really heavily invested in their classics teams around Greg Van Avermaet and Bob Jungles and those sort of guys. So they need some climbers, and obviously Ben's what they're looking for.
Now, I know you're about to head off for a pedal with your young fella, the world champion I saw walk past in the background. So appreciate you coming on board, mate, and we look forward to having a chat when you get up for the last couple of days of the Tour de Suisse, and we'll get you all ripe and ready for our regulars during the Tour de France. But thanks heaps, bud.
Yeah, no worries. No, I've got both boys are coming out today. So my oldest one, he rides. When I'm home, I take him out riding a fair bit. But the little one, who's only 7, you saw Alejandro Valverde's great grandson. It's the first ride he's done with the two of us, so he's pretty excited. And we actually got to ride directly to an athletics carnival, which my daughter's competing in, and I'll drop him off there with his mum, and then me and my older son Geordie will keep going, do a bit of more of a loop, and come back and watch my daughter, because I think she's got 3 or 4 events today. So we'll pop in and see all the events. But it's you think racing's hectic. You get back home, kid sport. It's the middle. Well, it's not quite summer here, but it's right at the end of the season with all the sports that my kids play. So it's been really busy. Football yesterday, athletics today. We've got handball on Monday, and then just spending some good quality time with the family before I head off again to be the priority.
Yeah, I know what it's like, mate. Even I've got grandkids duty now, so I had to take my 9-year-old grandson Jimmy to soccer game this morning. Left about 8 o'clock, and he was goalie because his father is Scottish and was a pro goalie back a few years ago. So he's taken after his dad, and he was jumping in and stopped a couple of rippers. He was a bit disappointed he let one filter through. He stopped it and rolled underneath. He flipped over his arm, and he was dark on that. But it's a lot of fun.
That was part 2. We got part 3, but it was just talking up Alejandro Valverde and his rise up the ranks, and we already covered that earlier. What are your thoughts from the chat with Whitey, Scooter?
Well, one of the things you mentioned about the Dauphiné with riders that are still, you threw the question to him about Lawson Craddock, Johnny, but riders still trying to, make their Tour de France teams. And right now, the final stage that's going on, I just checked the live stats of the Dauphiné. There are 19 riders in the lead group, and 8 of them are French. And what he was saying, how the French teams in particular, they're all fighting, to be in their biggest race. It's like the Aussies wanting to ride the Tour Down Under. So 8 of the 19 riders up the road in this final stage are French. So that's proof in the pudding that people are still trying to fight their way in if it's not confirmed if they're riding the Tour de France or not in their particular teams, which is interesting. Good to hear that his boys are riding. So this is racing stuff here, but his daughter's doing athletics because, look, some people may not realise or remember that Whitey's wife was a former Olympian in athletics as well. So she has some influence over her daughter at least, but not the boys.
And very famous Olympian, Jane Saville, that Sydney 2000. Famous when she was
one of the most tragic moments
into the
of any Olympics. Yes. I remember sitting at the track one day watching the races at the velodrome, and sitting next to me were Shane Kelly on one side and Jane on the other. 2 of the most famous incidents in Olympic history. One when he pulled his foot out, and one gets stopped about to run in and get a gold medal. So I think I mentioned it, but whatever.
That would have gone down well.
Well, do you remember what Jane? I can't remember exactly what was said, but whoever was the first journalist to get to her, and she was distraught. Remember that anyone that if you haven't seen it, look it up. Jane Saville, the race walk from the 2000 Olympic Games, being disqualified, coming down through the tunnel to come into the stadium, miles in front. She was on her way to a gold and got disqualified at the end, but she was so distraught. I think the journalist said, what do you want? Is there anything you need? And she said something like, just get me a gun. That was the comment. Quite morbid.
Well, to shoot the journalist who asked the question.
Or the official gave her the red paddle. Yeah. Fell for it.
It's obviously been a long show, boys. We're almost at an hour 30. What are your final thoughts? Obviously, there's a lot going on. Iffy with the Dauphiné. Do you think Richie's going to win it?
I do. I think Richie's going to win it, but I'm just, to have 4 Aussies in the top 20, with 3 in the top 10. I'm looking. Look, I do believe Richie win. His team are the strongest. Ineos Grenadiers, they'll control this bike race. I'm really looking forward to Jack Haig, watching what he does as well. I was very impressed with him yesterday. Young Ben O'Connor as well. And, of course, Damien Howson. He's still – Damien's 17th. He's still only a minute 55 down. So it's going to be a ripper of a stage.
And interesting for Damo. So in the break, of the riders in the break, the highest on the overall classification is Patrick Conrad. He's at 2 minutes 51. Obviously, Damo's a little bit further up on the GC, but 250 down. You don't think that they're going to let that break go all the way to the finish, right? So they're going to have to bring that back. But that might have been a group that Damo could have slipped in, being in the position that he's in. If you had the ambitions of, trying to maybe move up on the overall classification, perhaps. But obviously, he's not there though. It's a turning point, isn't it? I think for Australian cycling. Richie's not getting any younger, but he does look to be getting even a bit stronger, which is great. But to see guys like Storer and Hamilton riding well, not for the win, but they were riding really well at the Giro. Throw in Jai Hindley when he gets himself sorted again, he'll be back. Then you look at the guys, Jack Haig and Ben O'Connor. We're in a pretty good place. We don't have the Cadell Evans type of person that from the first time he turned professional, everyone thought, wow, this guy could win the Tour de France. We don't have someone like that just yet, but we've got a bunch of hard workers that are just pegging their way along and looking for some good top 10, top 5 results in the next couple of years, which is great.
We've got final comments. Linda, she says, good on you, Iffy, for alluding to the shambolic vaccination rollout in Australia. It's a national scandal. Good on you, John. Gary Tilley says, it's been a long show, but bloody better than Celebrity Apprentice. Oh, I forgot that was on. We're going to have to wrap it up. I'm actually a fan. I disagree, Gary. I love that show. Lord Sugar.
You've got to be kidding.
I love it. Anyway.
Really?
Yeah. Anyway.
I don't watch any of that stuff. I honestly don't watch. It's basically Netflix stuff these days, but or racing. There's none of those, like the Big Brother and was it not Housewives, the Bachelor and Married at First Sight, all that stuff.
Yeah,
my younger daughter, she said to me one day, this would have been about 4 years ago, and she said, "Oh, Dad, there's a show called Married at First Sight. You cannot watch it. That's terrible for people getting married at first sight without falling in love first. Don't watch that show, Dad." And I thought, you know what, Leilani, you're spot on. Crap show.
There you go. Shots fired. I'll tell you one good show, that Kate Winslet one, if you are into it's on Binge. It's called Mayor of Easttown, I think it's called.
Oh, yeah, with the young Geelong boy in it, who stars in it.
Who's that?
Geelong star. What's his name? Yeah.
Oh, right. I think I know who you're talking about. I don't want to talk about him because I could give the plot away, but watch it.
It's but he's the
one of the main kids in it.
Academy Award winner and whatever. Geelong boy. I can't even think of his name. Terrible.
Oh, he's very popular. Yeah. All right.
Well, I'm more. Look, I don't watch it. I'm more into the porn shows. I like those ones where you buy and sell that stuff. What are they called?
Porn stars.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
Okay.
Right. I thought it was one of those. I thought that was one of those Willis moments. What are you talking about, John?
Yeah. All right, fellas. Whenever we get that point of the show where we're waffling, it's time to cue the music. Thanks again. Thanks, Iffy. Thanks, Scooter. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. As we always say, tell your mates about the show. YouTube.com/The Detour Podcast. Like, share, subscribe. Give us a star rating on iTunes as well. But thanks again for all your support. And we'll see you again soon on The Detour. We've got a big couple of weeks leading up to the Tour de France. See you soon.
This is the winning